Second round of the NBA draft, the Boston Celtics make a trade down, pick two new players. I'll tell you who those guys are, and clarity about those Jaylen Brown and Derrick White rumors right now on the Locked On Celtics podcast.
Beantown, be ever ready. It's the C's. Who else could it be? What they gon' say now? Screaming like JT, Karalis. Recap the madness every game, every practice. Primetime Depp and D White on the sideline. Raining J's, how it started, raising banners, how we finished. Locked on Celtics pod, home of the winners.
Hey there, welcome back to the Locked On Celtics podcast. Happy to have you here, where it's your team every day on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team's the Boston Celtics. I love to talk about the Boston Celtics. I do it 5 days a week, Monday through Friday. It's free. It's available everywhere. The show's on YouTube. You can watch me on YouTube if you're so inclined. Get to the comment section. Let me know what you're thinking there. I'm John Karalis, by the way. I'm a beat writer covering the Celtics for Boston Sports Journal. I've been doing a version of this job for about 20 years now. So I feel like I've got a good sense of what this team is doing. I'm on the inside. I was there at the Celtics draft reaction, both after the first round and second rounds. And that's where we're going to start today. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. You can download that Game Time app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase of tickets. Tickets just about anything. Later on in the third segment, we'll get into Brad. I played the clip from Brad Stevens yesterday about the penalties, the second apron penalties. We talked to Mike Zarin, the vice president of basketball operations for the Celtics. He had a kind of like a funny reaction to that. I'll play that in the third segment. Second segment, we're dedicating that to the Jaylen Brown, Derrick White rumors, which were unequivocally shot down today by the Celtics. But let's start with the draft, the second round of the draft. The Celtics had the 32nd pick. People were going, oh boy, there's so many good players up there, doing the classic thing that basketball fans do. Oh my God, this guy that I like is still available. You better grab him now, even though the reaction is, I can't believe the Celtics passed on this guy. When every team, once you get to the second round, every team has passed on this guy. They're there for a reason. There are issues. There's something. There are questions. So the Celtics had 32. They traded down. They went into 40-something. I forget what it was, 40-something and 56. They end up getting a couple of guys, Amari Williams and Max Shulga. Shulga was the you know what? I'm going to let Mike Zarin explain why the Celtics got these two guys.
Amari, he's one of the best passing big men in college for a long time. He's an elite rebounder. He's a great guy. He had a wonderful career at Drexel and then stepped it up another level at Kentucky. When you meet him, you'll see he's got just an enormous wingspan. And as you'll see on the court, if you haven't seen already, he's got incredible vision. And those things are just key abilities in the modern NBA. Your big guys have to be able to do all sorts of things. We sometimes we play through big guys at the post with the guys we have had on our roster, and Amari should fit into that pretty well. And then Max is a tough guy who can handle and shoot, and elite toughness. He's been all over the world. He moved to Spain when he was 13, I think, to play basketball. People may not know he was a teammate for 1 year of Nimi's at Utah State. Actually, when he was here for a draft workout a couple weeks ago, I think they went out to dinner and caught up for old times. So I think that was great. But he's just a winner. I think they won 18 of their last 20 games or something like that. Was the A-10 player of the year. We've been watching both these guys for a long time. They had long college careers, and very, very successful players everywhere they've been. So, we'll see how they do at the next level, but they're both just really, really successful winning college players.
So both these guys are 23 years old. Both of them are expected to be on two-way contracts. So we're not going to get too deep into the weeds on who they are. But like Mike Zarin said, you got Amari Williams, 7-foot center, 7'5" wingspan. So big plus wingspan. 7.5 feet wingspan. It's very Mo Bamba-ish. But he'll project out as a potential rotation guy. The passing, the way the Celtics play out of the pick and roll, he kind of fits a lot of what the Celtics tend to do anyway. So this is a very kind of, natural fit. So right away, my feeling is that Amari Williams has a little bit of a better chance just because you can see the skills there. They're just questions about how he's going to handle the physicality in this second round, his ability to shoot and, score and spread the floor a little bit. But he's drawing a little bit of comparison to Robert Williams in that, a big with, some athleticism and not quite Rob's athleticism, but the ability to make those passes, make those plays, to have a big man that you can use as a hub for your offenses. There's potential there. But again, he's 23. He's going to be on a two-way deal. There's a reason why he was available in the 40s of the NBA draft. A guy that has these skills, you say, wow, I can't believe you got him at that point. Well, again, there are questions for all of these guys who are down at that spot. He's older. You don't have a lot of time to figure out what he's capable of doing. At 23 on a two-way deal, you get him for a couple of years, maybe this year, next year. But at that point, if you're going to elevate him, it's not like he's part of the super long-term plan. At 23, at that point, he'd be 25. He's already hitting his prime, and he's really, just starting in the league. So, there's a reduced window for a guy like him and for a guy like Shulga. Shulga is Ukrainian, but was the Atlantic 10 Player of the Year at VCU. A lights-out shooter, shot 40% from three, took nearly half of his three-pointers from NBA distance in college. So he can be a guy, a spot-up guy in a pinch, right? If you're looking for what can his most immediate impact be, he's a guy that you can put in down 11 with 2 minutes to go or a minute to go, and you're like, we need a bunch of threes in a hurry, and he could be like one of those guys that can hit a couple of threes just spreading the floor and all of that. But he's 6'4". He's not super athletic. He is kind of slow laterally, and his ability to defend is the biggest question. So again, he'll be on a two-way contract. Excuse me. And his, he'll get a chance to try to improve that lateral quickness, improve his defense. Got to get it to a point where it's NBA ready. And this is the thing about, I've said it yesterday, I'll say it a million times. When you're in this spot in the draft, from the 20s on down, you're looking for guys with elite level skills, like one elite level skill, like for Amari Williams, the passing, and you can say the rim protection, but the passing is elite. Okay, that's incredible. Great basketball IQ. So you're like, okay, you got natural defense, big, tall guy, long, can block some shots. He's a good defender, can rebound. You need a center. Maybe he's the guy that's the cheap center that you can kind of have around on a 3, 4, 5 million, whatever if he's at his best, probably in that range, small contract comparatively speaking, so you can pay your wings a lot of money. So, you look at a guy like that and you say, okay, he can hopefully develop. He has that one really elite skill of passing. Can he do the other stuff? Max, a shooter, elite shooter. Can you get him to do the other stuff? Will he become passable enough at these other spots, at these other skills where you can rely on him? And maybe he never, or none of these guys ever become anything more than an 8th or 9th man. Every once in a while, these second rounders, they hit, right? History is full of second rounders and undrafted guys that become amazing players. So I don't want to outright dismiss what we're looking at, but this is the survival rate of animals in the wild, right? Like these are, if you ever pay attention to these nature shows, all of these animals give, the birds lay like 8 eggs and like 2 survive. And it's just how it works. It's the same idea. I went a long way to get here. This is the same idea with second round draft picks. You make tons and tons and tons of these picks, and you just hope a couple of them hit somewhere along the way. So these are all low percentage. All of Brad's drafts, and just side note, I'm late in this segment, but people are out there judging Brad Stevens drafting already. He's made 2 first-round picks in his entire front office career. One of them is Baylor Shireman. The other one he just made Hugo Gonzalez last night, 2 nights ago. Like, are we really judging him on picks that are made in the late 20s and in the second round? Can't judge a guy on that. We'll see. We'll see what these guys become. Obviously, next step is Summer League. That's going to be a big step for them. I feel like we have the potential to do the classic fall in love with one of these guys in Summer League, because like Amari Williams will block 6 shots in a game and we'll be like, we found our center. So let's temper it. I'm going to tell you in advance, temper it. But those are the 2 guys the Celtics got. They also picked up 2 future second rounders. So nice bit of draft day maneuvering for Brad Stevens. Celtics full of moves, and there was tons of talk about Jaylen Brown and Derrick White. Unequivocally shot down by the Celtics. I will play you their reaction next. Today's show is brought to you by Skims. I really like my Skims underwear. Skims has been making these underwear for women, and my wife has been like all about them. She loves them. The underwear for men, I get what she's talking about. The quality is the same, and the fit, comfort, style, all of that is right. I've got the 5-inch stretch boxer briefs, very comfortable to wear at the gym. If you're out running errands, if you're just out running around, super comfortable. They stay where they're supposed to stay. It feels like just a part of your body. You don't get the bunch up. You don't get the uncomfortable band. It really is perfect. If you're active, it's great, especially in this heat. Very, very good, very comfortable, very reliable. Lightweight material, feels like you're wearing nothing at all. So I do recommend the Stretch 5 boxer brief, but they've got the cotton 3-inch boxer brief, stretch 3-inch boxer brief, the cotton brief, the stretch brief. They've got a bunch of different styles, whatever you want. It's at skims.com. You can shop Skims Men's at skims.com. When you buy it, they're going to have a little survey. Please make sure that you select podcast in the survey and then select this show from the drop-down menu that follows. That's how they know that we sent you to skims.com. Thank you for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. Go check out Locked On NBA. Locked On NBA has 2 podcasts on the feed. I am normally there on Fridays, but today, because of the draft, I had to tap out for this day. But normally it's me and Jake. We'll be covering when the Summer League starts. We'll be talking about Summer League games. Game night is strictly the business of the league, but over the course of the summer, we'll be tackling the big topics too, just like they do in the regular Locked On NBA podcast. Both of those exist on the same feed. So leading into all of this stuff, the reporting on the Celtics was Drew Holiday was gone. Porzingis was a possibility. The Celtics are probably not going to trade Jaylen Brown and Derrick White, but they're listening, and they're listening part has turned into a lot of different levels of reporting. So again, Mike Zarin on the call was asked what was up with these rumors. This is a quick clip, just very definitive. Here he is.
Those two guys are really, really great NBA players, and there hasn't been anything close to serious about trading them. And so I'm not sure where all this reporting came from, but those guys are key parts of our team, and we're lucky to have them here.
Nothing close to serious, which implies that conversations were had, which, again, I've said a million times, of course conversations are had. Conversations have to be had about everybody. When you're running an NBA team and a team calls you, you have to take the call. Now, there are reports that the Toronto Raptors called, like, after Jayson tore his Achilles, the Raptors called and said, hey, we'll give you the 9th pick for Derrick White. And they were kind of like laughed off. They're like, no. It's going to take a lot more than number 9. But also a sign that as soon as tragedy befalls a team, the rest of the league starts circling. The buzzards start circling. Again, a nature reference. The buzzards start circling to start picking the meat off of the bones. You don't think that front offices are calling the Indiana Pacers because Tyrese Halliburton's going to be out for all or most of the year coming up, and they're going to be like, hey, what about this guy? What about that guy? What are you looking to do? How's your reaction going to be? Teams, as soon as something happens, teams jump on and start trying to pick at the carcass, or what they think is the carcass of what's left. So, yes, of course, teams try to come in and pluck the good players. And because you never know when a New Orleans will come around. If you don't know what I'm talking about here, the New Orleans Pelicans traded up in the first round to with Derrick Queen. They wanted this kid. Again, he's very highly touted. I don't know much about him. I'm not a big draft guy myself. At least not until I have to be. So in a few years, I'll be very well versed in the draft. Freudian slip. But regardless, the Pelicans traded up from like 10 spots away and gave up an unprotected 26th pick, unprotected, to move up in the draft. And everybody, and I say, like, everybody in the NBA is like, what the hell are the Pelicans doing? And so you have to call. You have to call, because you never know when Brad's going to be like, I don't know, maybe he got drunk. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll trade Derrick White for whatever you want to give it. Derrick White's gone by. Like that, you never know when you're going to get that. So, and he probably got drunk off some fermented milk that was in the fridge too long. But because I don't know what Brad's drinking habits are. I feel pretty good that I could probably outlast him. But you never know. But anyway, Brad is going to get the calls. And you have to take the calls. You have to make the calls as well. So conversations have to be had, no doubt about it. The Celtics are not moving Jaylen Brown. They are not moving Derrick White until it's just makes no sense to keep them anymore. And unfortunately, that day is going to come for everybody. It's going to come for Jayson Tatum. It's going to come for Jaylen Brown. It's going to come for Derrick White. It's going to come for all of us. It's all of them. Some days coming for all of us. But the level of the reporting, I think a lot of people are kind of getting on the reporters for pumping that up. I think there has been like a little whirlwind of reporting around the Celtics because of the Tatum injury and because of the quality of the players who have been available or who may be available. And it's a seismic kind of shift that potentially exists when the former champs are potentially going to be broken up. So, yeah, I think a lot of the reporting came from, just to kind of like after the fact answer Mike Zarin's question, it came from the other teams, and the reporters were like, yeah, teams are calling. Everybody's asking the Celtics, and the Celtics are being hit with a lot of big, crazy offers. And the Celtics can sit there and say nothing serious. We were never close to anything serious because they never heard something that made them think, oh, yeah, this makes sense. Even if it was the 5th pick or the 8th pick or the 10th pick or whatever, they never sat there and said, this is enough for us to even consider it. It's more like, thank you. Appreciate your interest. We'll let you know. And you don't call back. But one last bit about this is whenever a team calls, and this has to be part of your GM thinking. A team calls and says, okay, we will offer you players A, B, and C for Jaylen Brown and these picks. And you can turn around and be like, no, we're not trading Jaylen Brown. We are potentially trading, I don't know, this guy, that guy, Anthony Simons. Okay, would you trade player C for Anthony Simons? You have to listen to what other teams are willing to give up. And even if nothing comes of it, you now have a bank in your head. The Minnesota Timberwolves called and offered us players A, B, and C. Let's write down those names. And when we decide that we might want one of those players, we'll call them up and be like, hey, remember when you told us about player B? Well, we have a player that you might like now. And it's not this guy. It's not who you were calling about, but we have a potential deal if this guy is still available. It's an entry into these other conversations that you have to have. So you have to listen to everybody. You have to listen to what they're saying. Even if you're being polite and you say thank you, but no thank you, you're listening to the urgency in their voice. You're listening to what they're trying to accomplish as a team. You're listening to all sorts of little cues, whether it's you're surreptitiously trying to like figure out, whoa, let's see, maybe do they sound desperate? They feel desperate. Or you're flat out asking, well, what are you trying to do here? Right? Team X calls over and you're like, hey, well, we're not trading you Jaylen Brown, but what are you trying to accomplish? Maybe we can help you out some other way. And that's how you start developing relationships and developing the potential to fuel a future deal with these teams. So as much as we want to sit there and laugh and be like, ha, 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 yeah, what did you think you're going to get Jaylen Brown for that? Like, yeah, that's funny. But Brad, by doing his job and listening and taking the calls, now says, okay, now he's got a little bit of a dossier on the rest of the leagues. Okay, I'm just pulling teams randomly. The Pistons are trying to do X. The Pelicans are trying to do X. These teams, these are the guys that were mentioned to me. These are the teams that are looking to add. These are the teams that are looking to subtract. This team is trying to make a push. They feel like they're a player away, so on and so forth. So if something happens down the road, who knows what happens at the trade deadline? Who knows what happens during the course of this season or next season? You have information from these other teams, and it's all valuable stuff. So, yes, the Celtics shot down these rumors, but the phone calls themselves have value to the Celtics. So, put a pin in this stuff because you never know when these conversations lead to something else. Brad Stevens, I played it for you yesterday. Brad was talking about the second apron penalties and all of that stuff. Mike Zarin had a real funny reaction, I thought, to the second apron stuff and kind of like took a little jab at Brad. That is coming up next. Today's show is brought to you by Game Time. Download that Game Time app, and when you want to head to a baseball game, it's summer, it's nice out, Red Sox maybe, are you in Boston? Are you in another city? Your favorite baseball team? Maybe a soccer game. Maybe you're going to a concert. or something. Game Time makes it possible to grab these last-minute tickets without any stress. It makes buying these tickets fast and simple. The apps actually, the prices on the app actually drop as the closer you get to the beginnings of these games, the first pitch. They've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and the lowest price guarantee to take the worry out of buying. I've used Game Time multiple times, so I can't take advantage of this offer I'm about to give you, but I've used it. Last time I used it was in New York. I went there to cover the Celtics and the Knicks. I ended up going to the New York Liberty and Connecticut Sun at the Barclays Center. It was a last minute thing. I landed in New York. I got to my hotel. I opened up the app and I said, oh, whoa, there's a game here. And I was 10 minutes away from Brooklyn. Boom. Got a great deal. Got a great seat. Very easy. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the app, create an account. Use the code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem the code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKED, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. Thanks for making Locked On Celtics your first listen every day. I would recommend going to check out the Locked On, if you're a Boston sports fan, a Locked On for every Boston sports team. They are the Locked On Red Sox, Locked On Patriots, Locked On Bruins, got you all covered. Lots of great stuff happening over there. Whatever your favorite team is, whatever your favorite sport is, college, pros, we have a Locked On for everything, everybody. Go check it out. So Mike Zarin, Celtics Vice President of Basketball Operations. I played a couple of clips from him already, but I asked about the Brad Stevens quote. He talked about the second apron. I played you the clip yesterday. If you didn't hear it yesterday, I'll play it again for you right now.
This is there's a lot of things that go into these moves and a lot of things that are really important. And listen, again, it goes back to prioritizing our flexibility. And, I think the second apron basketball penalties are real. And I'm not sure I understood how real until they were staring me in the face in the last month. So I do think that there's, I think that can't be overstated.
Right. You said a little while back about how when you were looking at managing this team over like a 10-year period, you were trying to keep the peaks and valleys from being, or maybe the valleys from being too low. How is the second apron shaped that vision, and how is maybe this summer kind of an example of that?
The biggest challenge for our team is our first team All-NBA players in a boot. That's number one, right? So we know that going into next year. And then everything else is another, is second to that as far as how we build, grow, and improve as much as we can. And over the course of time, I said when I sat down in front of everybody a few weeks ago, my goal is to compete for championships. And, there will be inevitably a lot that goes into being in the mix for those. And we just have to, again, prioritize the health of those two guys and then also at the same time, make sure we're regaining some of our flexibility.
Does Brad sound somber to you? Maybe he was just tired. Here's my Q&A with Mike Zarin, who got a kick. He literally, I think, he was laughing about what Brad said. Brad yesterday talked about he phrased it pretty starkly. The second apron penalties are real. I didn't realize how real they were until they were staring me in the face. Can you add any sort of context to that, and just how punitive are these things that they were, I don't know, maybe as shocking as Brad mentioned?
Yeah, I mean, these draft nights, these days are long. We're talking about trades and picking people all day, and then we go through a pretty hectic draft moment over a few hours, and then he comes out here and talks. But we've known about the second apron penalties since basically the CBA was signed. We certainly knew about them when we made the trades we did a couple of years ago. And I think Brad's just talking about the feeling of having discussions about, trading good players, which we have to do sometimes. And the penalties are real. It's, you can lose your future draft picks. They can move down, that they can be frozen and then move down to 30. That's a big deal because you use those to go get good players a lot of the time, in addition to just using them to pick. And there's a bunch of transactions you just can't do when you're up at high levels. So, we sort of had a good idea of the realities of all of this a couple of years ago when we made trades to acquire guys who became key pieces of a Celtics championship team. Now we've reached the point where we have to think about what to do moving forward. And, I think nobody enjoys that. And that's what Brad's talking about is he's well aware of what all the penalties are, but it's not fun when you're facing them. And, I think that's all he meant yesterday.
Yeah. The reality of, I really have no choice but to trade Drew Holiday. I really have no choice but to trade Kristaps Porzingis. The two guys, literally the two guys that you needed to acquire in order to win the championship. Those two guys, those were the key moves. And then 2 years later, you got to turn around and be like, sorry, buddy. And, Holiday's pissed off about having to go to Portland, which I understand. Like that's not a great situation for him. I'm sure he doesn't want to be in that type of environment. A team that's, sure they finished last year strong, but like it's not a title contender, and he's older. He wants to win. He wants to be in a good situation. So yeah, I get it. I get why Drew would be pissed off. I would be too. Porzingis is already tweeting himself with, Atlanta stuff on. He's moving on. He gets it, but it's tough. It is tough. Of course it is. These are real people, and Brad, he gets it. He understands, and one of his strengths is having that clarity and the lack of, emotional attachment. I keep joking that I would be a horrible GM because I get attached to players. I love certain qualities and certain players. Like, you cannot lose this guy. You need him. And it's like you trade him away, and it's like, oh, yeah, okay, I get it. But Brad is, very good at saying like, hey, I love this guy too, but this is what this requires, and so we're done. And that's it. But it doesn't make the conversation any easier. Conversations are hard. But I will also say, and to Mike Zarin's point, they did see this coming. For as difficult as this moment was for Brad, and as tough as these basketball penalties are, and they are for real, this is not ownership being cheap. This is basketball penalties driving this. You got to make sure you have that flexibility. The Celtics saw this coming. They understood what was about to happen. They got the guys they needed to get. They signed them to the long-term deals. They won a championship. I know everybody wanted the Celtics to win a second championship, but they got the one, and that's important. And Brad was able to turn around and trade both contracts that he gave after those trades. So you did it. You won the championship. It didn't go exactly the way you thought it would afterwards, but you got out. Now you're in the next phase of retooling, eventually rebuilding. However it goes. We'll see. But it is interesting. And I think Brad was a little bit forthcoming on after round one. And I think maybe part of it was because he was maybe a little tired, a little worn down. So he was just like talking. And it was funny to see Mike Zarin laugh about that. Be like, Brad knows. I don't know what he was talking about. But who knows? Who knows what's next? I feel like this is a chance for everybody to take a breath, because we have a couple of days now for, to get everything pieced together. We can wait until free agency really starts to pick up and see where players go before the next wave of trades comes around. I say that, but I feel the need. I'm compelled as I say that to go to my Twitter notifications and just make sure that Shams hasn't dropped a bomb that will erase everything that I just said. Nope. Looks like we're in the clear. So that means I get to say thank you to everybody for listening to the show, watching the show. I do appreciate you. If you're an everydayer, you know I love you. Monday through Friday, I'm here. You're here. We get to sit and chat through your radio device, TV, whatever it is, your phone. I don't even say radio. What an old man thing to say first. But so happy to have you on here Monday through Friday. Be an everydayer. If you're not one, please become one. Subscribe to the show. Get into the comment section. Share your thoughts. And then share the podcast. Tell everybody they should be listening to and watching the Locked On Celtics podcast here on the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day.